Hello everybody, and welcome to Techno Games, where today I will be talking about the Star Wars Battlefront beta, not the Star Wars Battlefront 3 beta, just the Star Wars Battlefront beta, and I wanted to talk about, do I think it's too casual, which is something I've seen coming up a lot in discussions about the game. So, do I think it's too casual? At the moment, yeah, I do feel that Star Wars Battlefront will be a very casual game, as there aren't many elements of skill in it. There's not a lot of mechanics that you see in Counter-Strike, and you don't even see in that. There's not a lot of mechanics in Battlefront that you see in Counter-Strike, and even like games like Battlefield and Call of Duty. You don't see these mechanics, and you see these mechanics implemented in a different way in Battlefront, which is definitely not geared towards being competitive or particularly skill-based. And I think that Battlefront is meant to be an experience rather than a skillful game. So why do I think this? I'll list some things. The first one is the crosshair, and more specifically what it does. It barely moves. You can crouch, you can run, you can walk, you can well, you can't shoot and sprint, but you can crouch, walk, jump up and down. You know, this crosshair will stay virtually the same. And in Battlefield, it's not like that. You run around, you crouch, your crosshair goes smaller. You get up, your crosshair gets bigger. You know, you moving left and right, your crosshair's going in and out, and that's obviously the same for Counter-Strike and Call of Duty. But it's not like that in Battlefront at all. It is basically, it just doesn't move a lot. Your crosshair does not move, which is not very skillful. It doesn't teach you skill in not moving while shooting or being in a certain position while shooting. It's just kind of shoot and win. Shoot and go win. I'm going to call it shoot and go win. And this shoot and go win mechanic is not skillful in any way. It's really geared towards the casual audience, because shoot and go win does not require much skill. Shoot and go win is just shoot and go win. So that is my one of the problems I have with the casualness of Star Wars Battlefront. My second problem is the flying. The flying is overly simplified. Maybe not. Maybe well, it's simplified obviously for a casual audience. I don't know. The moves you pull in the actual ships, they're not pulled by the user. You just press F1, F2, or F3, and that move is executed for you, which obviously does not require the skill of you learning that move. It just requires you to be able to press F1, F2, or F3. And there is a lot of resistance in the craft, and by that what I mean is when you turn, there's a lot of sort of force trying to pull you back, which isn't very good for skillful flying. It's sort of not providing a consistent way to fly. It's really meant to be more casual, experience-y sort of thing, where you're flying around, your craft's been pulled left and right. While you're trying to turn, it's not as responsive as you would want it to be, because it's more casual. It's meant to be more of a casual gaming experience rather than a skillful way of flying, which is obviously a problem, because you can't fly skillfully. Or you can, but there is an extremely low skill cap on flying. Another problem I have with the casual nature of Star Wars Battlefront is, and the final point I wanted to cover about Star Wars Battlefront in being too casual, is that the reloads are not there. And the actual way you quote-unquote reload is maybe the only element, well, not the only element of skill, but like a very simple way of putting quote-unquote skill into the game. So when your gun overheats, because your guns don't have ammo, they just overheat. When your gun overheats, it basically the bars go back down, but you have a limited space where if you hit R, your guns will instantly cool off. And if you don't hit it, then they'll spend even longer cooling off. And that provides a little bit of skill in the game, you know, getting the timings right, watching for that little yellow bar so when it hits you can straight back in to shooting, which I think is a pretty good way of handling an overheat system, as it gives you sort of a quote-unquote skillful way out of overheating. So if you've been holding down your gun a long time and there's a massive group of enemies in front of you and you're like, man, really got to kill them all, you can do that. You can be quote-unquote skillful and you can obviously hit R at the right time and absolutely murder them. But the fact that reloads and ammo aren't in the game is again just another thing that's showing the lack, the lack of sort of skillfulness that they've implemented into the game. You don't need to conserve ammo, and you don't particularly need to time reloads as much as you did it in, say, Battlefield or Call of Duty or Counter-Strike. You don't need to time your reloads because your reloads, well, when you're letting your guns cool down, you can shoot and interrupt that process at any point. When you're reloading, you can't. So you can see the problem here. You don't have to time your coolings. It's just kind of, I'm not shooting, thus I'm cooling. And there's a lack of skill in that, in which you don't have to time your reloads. You don't have to think what happens if the enemy's around that corner. You just kind of, I'll waddle around the corner without shooting. If he's there, I'll light him up. And again, that's an element of skill which is absent from the game. So I've rambled a lot on how quote-unquote unskilled this game is, but I'd like to clarify, this game is still really fun. Like, Jesus Christ, if there's one game I'm going to pick up this year, it's either this or Tom Clancy's Siege, Rainbow Six Siege. Because it's really fun, but it's not meant to be a competitive thing in any way, and I think they've really geared it towards being a very casual, very sort of experience-y game. It's an experience. You get to fight it out on Hoth, Endor, etc. You get to do all these places. It's more for fans of Star Wars rather than people who want to play a competitive goddamn game. It's just an experience of Star Wars and fighting in those Star Wars locales. So I think, yes, this game is super casual, but no, that does not mean, one, it's a bad game, or two, you shouldn't buy it. I think I'm probably going to buy this one. And when I do, I will have a lot of fun with it, because you don't need to be skillful, which is obviously what they were going for in this game. You can be as casual as you want, and you can still succeed. Because of all the things I've said in this video, you don't have to be a super MLG Pro fanatic at this game. You can just be casual and let the mechanics that they've either left out or put in to assist you in your casualness, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'm definitely going to get this game, and if you don't mind a casual romp through the Star Wars universe, I think you should too. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Techno of this from Techno Games. This has been, is it too casual, or is it just for casual players? Thank you guys for watching. I'm Techno of this from Techno Games. This has been Star Wars Battlefront Beta thoughts on casualness and its place in the Star Wars game, which I think it definitely has. It's an experience, not a competitive thing, as it's not meant to be, because, you know, it's explosions. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Techno Games. Have fun.